Hi, I am Associate Professor Zoe Mantarakis from the University of Texas in Austin. And I am here to talk about my project. My project that I've been working on since 2019, which is to develop a yoga minor in the Department of Kinesiology at my university. And I'm proud to say that the state of this project is completion. As of May 2025, I graduated my first cohort of students who received a degree in yoga from the University of Texas. Um, so, what I've developed is a yoga minor. In my department, we call it a specialization. And the process to getting here has been a long one, a journey for 6 years. What I started noticing is that a lot of universities offer yoga as we call rec sports. It's a recreational, extracurricular. Students can sign up at their will, at their interest, but they're not receiving college credit. And they're having to pay out of pocket in addition to the tuition that they're already paying. So the difference in my program is that by making yoga a minor, making it a degree path means that you are getting college credit for studying yoga and that the study of yoga is included in the tuition that you're paying to a higher education institution. The benefits of that are that students are being rewarded for their interest in yoga by getting degrees in it. So the reward is that not only are they getting the benefits of yoga, but they're getting to study it in the higher education framework. When I first got employed by the university, I was hired just to teach what we call PED, Physical Education Division classes. So it was deemed that my classes would be physical education, meaning focused on asana, maybe some pranayama, right? Maybe a little bit of mindfulness. And what I really pushed for and wrote my proposals and eventually got my proposals approved, the direction that I've taken the yoga program is that we are learning all of the 8 limbs of yoga as taught in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So I backed up and took a wider perspective to yoga in higher education in that I have the undergrads at UT start learning the yamas and niyamas before we approach asana and pranayama, the poses, the breathing, and then eventually dharana, dhyana, samadhi, meditation, right? We get there. But first we learn our yamas and niyamas, which is really like lifestyle practice. I've even used the yoga program on campus as a tool for creating inroads so that the yoga program is like couched in a network of community organizations within the campus. So when we're talking about brahmacharya, which is one of the yamas, which relates to abstinence or mindfulness around sexual conduct, it relates to consent and withholding consent, and also the act of receiving consent or receiving the withholding of consent. It talks about brahmacharya is talking about how we engage with each other in intimate ways. When I teach that portion of class, I have an inroad to this campus organization called Not on My Campus, which raises awareness about sexual assault on campus. And so we collaborate and do guest lectures where we talk about mindfulness in intimacy through the lens of yoga. And then we provide students with access to this supplemental support organization for allies and for survivors and thrivers of sexual assault on campus. Likewise, when I'm talking about yogic diet and sauksha, which is one of the niyamas, we talk about purity and perhaps like purifying what we put in our bodies, eating clean, right? Hydrating. This perhaps leads us to ideas of veganism, vegetarian, organic. That opens the door for me to then have conversations around access to food. And then I have inroads and I have collaborations with the food pantry on campus. And then we do co-lectures, guest lecturing, where we will provide the students with a lecture on healthy eating in alongside a presentation from the food bank talking about access to food and making that healthy food option accessible to those of us, right? All of us. Because there's a correlation between socioeconomic standing and access to what we would call pure food, right? In the yogic sense, the sauksha, organic food, right? Vegetarian, vegan food. So creating these inroads has been part of my project so that I've taken it beyond the level that I was first hired to teach at, which was just physical education. Get them in down dog, right? Get them doing the warrior poses. I've taken a step back and taken a broader view of how can I engage college age students in a way where they're interacting with all eight limbs of yoga in the standing of higher education. And so where that took my project of getting it to be a degree path is that my degree, the yoga degree, became interdisciplinary. So I tapped a team of teachers from the university. We've got the Asian Studies Department offering a class called The History of Yoga, Past and Present. We've got a class that's co-listed as philosophy and religious studies that discusses the Hindu roots of yoga. In kinesiology, we've got classes offered that discuss anatomy as well as the asanas, the physical education components. And then in the College of Education, we have a health education class that discusses pedagogy, ethics, and integrity in the classroom. And so, in fact, when students are graduating with the yoga minor, it's not just that they've learned the study of yoga, they're actually taking it one step further to then be able to teach others yoga. And so I've mapped our requirements for the yoga minor alongside the requirements for the National Yoga Alliance 200-hour certification so that the yoga specialization degree from UT is equivalent to a Yoga Alliance 200-hour certificate. So students are graduating with a hireable certificate, a hireable skill set that then they can actually be fully functioning yoga teachers. And in fact, another portion of their graduation requirements is that they complete an internship. And during the internship, that's where we get that collaborative element between the yoga studies and the other campus organizations, those two that I mentioned, but also others. There's the Center for Students in Recovery, where some of my interns teach yoga for recovery. There's the College of Liberal Arts Wellness Foundation, where others of my interns are also teaching yoga to their peers, right? So this is where they're getting their practicing teaching hours. So where I see it going, because I feel a sense of completion in this project, but at the same time, I also see that this is a stepping stone and that we can take this endeavor even further is that I want to create a pipeline, not just within the university organizations, campus organizations, but beyond the university, so that my interns would actually build relationships with local studios and perhaps earn their intern credits by teaching, observing, assisting at local businesses in the community outside of campus. That's a place where I see potential for growth. The other place that I see a potential for growth is expanding the program so that it's not just for undergrads, but that it extends to graduate studies. And what I would really be jazzed about to see mentor, provide guidance around is graduate students doing their dissertations, their theses, doing research projects on yoga related topics, and then receiving degrees for that work. So, what I imagine that I'm doing, my project is kind of creating the next crop of yoga researchers, yoga educators at a high level, right? And individuals who are deeply intelligent and educated in the realm of yoga. Because it's a minor, it also has the added benefit that it can collaborate, it blends with other majors. So the students that are graduating may be psychology major with the minor in yoga, or early childhood education with the minor in yoga. And the way I imagine these students moving, beyond their undergrad education and going out into their careers is as intelligent, educated advocates for yoga, where perhaps we start to see doctors, nurses, counselors and therapists, teachers who aren't just saying, oh, you got diagnosed with ADHD. Have you tried yoga for that? Or you have high blood pressure. You should try yoga for that. But to really take it into that more nuanced framework where we might say, you should try yin yoga for that. Or have you tried vinyasa yoga for that? Or you may want to avoid inversions in your hatha yoga practice for your condition. So I'm imagining creating this next generation of those advocates for yoga in a way where they can advocate with more focus, with more specificity in terms of how people should seek out yoga to support their specific conditions, right? And their underlying needs. It's really exciting, and I'm sure you can sense my enthusiasm. And part of my motivation in sharing with you is that another way I see the future of my project is it expanding to other universities. And I hope that hearing my journey inspires others to start the process on other campuses where yoga is not just relegated to a recreational sport, relegated to an extracurricular, but that it really takes a seat among other serious and acknowledged areas of study and higher learning. When I was first hired at the University of Texas, I was hired by two elder gentlemen who actually they retired both not long after hiring me. I was the last hire that these two gentlemen made in my department. And they said that their reason in hiring me, because it was revolutionary. I'm the first ever professor of the practice of yoga in the entire UT systems, so in all of Texas. Um, and they said the reason being yoga is thousands of years old. It's about time we had some yoga in Texas. That's what they said to me. And that's how I feel about colleges all across the country and elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. It's about time, right? So I hope my story inspires you. And I hope you see that there is a road, there is a pathway that leads to bringing yoga beyond the realm of the extracurricular and into the real educational environment that our students need and will benefit from. Thank you for sharing time with me. Again, my name is Zoe, and namaste.